Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is day 193, September the 15th, Friday. Fun Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. My goodness, we have a major breaking story today. We have a couple other very important bits of information. But before I get into today's news and this major breaking story, I just want to touch on two things that are largely just political because they're kind of very much in the news over the past several days, especially today. And the first thing I want to talk about here very quickly is this issue with so many people coming out and being upset, mainly Trump supporters, people allegedly on the right, very upset that Trump has cut this deal allegedly with Pelosi and Chucky Schumer. And of course, Chucky Schumer came out and made this statement this morning that that they had gotten this deal for the Dreamers and it didn't involve the wall or something like that, which of course Trump followed up, as well as his press spokesman and a couple other people within the administration followed up and said, no, that's not true. And even Trump came out and said, no wall, no deal. Trump ain't giving up on his wall. He's already secured the funding. He's already secured $2.3 billion in funding. He's got the 4 companies that they've narrowed it down to. They're going to make the wall, making prototypes for him to look at. And they're looking at moving ahead and starting on the first 200 miles of border wall in the immediate future. So Trump's going to get his wall. That's not an issue. And I whether he wants to tie that to the Dreamer Act or whatever, I mean, however he wants to do that. Again, as I mentioned before, I think that most Trump supporters are, okay with the fact that you have this estimated to be 800,000 people who were brought into the country illegally when they were children. They're now adults or nearing the age of adulthood. They're in the country, and that's the way it is. Now, for those who have not committed a felony or anything like that, I have no problem, with them being made legal citizens. Get them legal, get them paying taxes, get them on the system. I mean, if they've come here, they were brought here when they were kids, they're following the law, they're paying their taxes, I don't think anyone really realistically believes in that we're going to deport 800,000 people, especially many of which have committed no crime, other than the fact that they were brought into this country as a child. I don't think that that's a major step back position from what Trump campaigned on. He's always talked about the fact that he was dealing mostly with, when he's talking about illegals, he's talking mostly about the people who are, a lot of times about people who are here committing crimes and things like that. As far as the fact that we have all these illegals in the country, that's what he wants to deal with. And if they've, followed the law and have committed no felonies or anything like that, yes, I mean, for God's sake, let's go ahead and make them legal. I mean, they're here. They've been here for many years. They're being good, upstanding citizens. Just make them citizens and get it over with. And if you want to call that amnesty or whatever you want to call that, that's fine. Put it whatever label you want on it. Trump supporters are not going to dump him over that. But they're a little upset because apparently a lot of people are saying that, well, Trump made a deal with the devil and he didn't get anything in return. And I just don't believe that's true. And I also think that Trump is smart enough to know that he can't trust Pelosi and Chucky Schumer. They will stab him in the back immediately. And I think he also understands, because we've been through this time and time again, where the Democrats will say, yeah, we'll go along with this or that or the other thing. So we'll go ahead and do what we want now, and then when we get to this thing that you want, we'll take care of it then. But then never comes. They always back down. They never hold up their end of the deal. Trump is aware of this. He's very well aware of it because he talked about this back in the campaign. So he understands the game that's being played. He's no fool. And he says, hey, the wall, I'm getting my wall, basically, and the wall is part of the deal, or it may be part of another deal. He is not at all back down from building the wall. He's moving forward with building the wall. We just talked about a story yesterday where they removed a waiver allowing him to go ahead and begin accessing the money. The models are being built. He's going to be making a decision on that wall. And it doesn't matter what Pelosi or Chucky Schumer or Big Ears Ryan or Twitch McConnell think. Trump's going to get his damn wall, and you can take that to the bank. However he does it, I don't know, but he's going to get it done one way or another. So I wouldn't read too much into this. And again, just because Pelosi and Schumer come out and make a statement like that doesn't mean it's true. You know, maybe they heard what they want to hear, or maybe he did say it. I don't know what kind of political game is being played here, but I think that for people to be getting, you know, all upset about this, first of all we've had is just comments by Pelosi and Schumer. We've had Trump's response. We've had his press secretary's response. We have nothing in writing. We have nothing on paper. We have no votes have been cast. Nothing has been debated. Nothing has been discussed. It's just, you know, the very early stages of a political dialogue, a political discussion, and a negotiation. And there'll be many negotiations. And it may not all happen through one negotiation. It'll probably be multiple negotiations, and this bill could spill into 2 or 3 other bills. How it gets done is kind of like the sausage making process. Yeah, we watch it and we may be interested in it, but until we actually see the final product and have a taste for ourselves, we can't really go out there and comment. So I'm going to reserve jumping on the bandwagon with everyone else and crying about this at this point. I mean, you know, and another thing we have to look at is that there is something that I believe it was Dig Cry 2 that may have pointed this out in a previous video, or Robert or someone, one of the commenters pointed out a couple things here, but you know, we really don't know what the deal is here, and we're just going to have to wait and see. And you know, this is, I think the comment, what the commenter was pointing out was that this really shines a light on Twitch McConnell and Big Ears Ryan and these neocons who are anti-Trumpers. What this does, the fact that they will not work with the president whatsoever, his own party, the leadership of his own party will not work with him, have forced him to go to the Democrats. And so there's a little bit of that play going on here. That's some of it. I'm sure he is legitimately talking to the opposition, because quite honestly, you cannot, as president, when you have a almost evenly divided Congress, you cannot, even if he had all Republicans on his side, he doesn't have 60 votes in the Senate. The fact is, you cannot, as a president, govern completely from one side of the aisle. All presidents have to work between both sides, and you have to try to find those moderates, those people in the middle. You have to write off the extremists on the right and the left, and you have to find the people in the middle. You have to find the center ground. You have to negotiate. You have to govern. That's the president's job. His job is not to be a political hack and sit in the White House and just argue and fight and get nothing done. You have to produce something. You have to get something done. That's the position he is in. And a lot of people are not thinking clearly about what position he is in. What would you do if you were him? You have your party, the leadership of your party, trying to obstruct you and destroy you. You have the opposition party trying to do the same. The only thing that you can do under those circumstances is take a look at the platform that you ran on, which you know is pretty popular. Take a look at some of the things that you are wanting to do, which are popular with both Republicans and Democrats. And whether they like you personally or not, you can bring these issues to the forefront and, force the Democrats to go out and vote against middle-class tax cuts. Force Republicans to go out and vote against these anti-Trump Republicans to vote against middle-class tax cuts. Force them to vote against securing our borders. Force them to vote against any of these popular legislative items that Trump is looking at. And I think this is the point that I believe, again, it was Dig Cry 2 was making, is that he is, by doing what he's doing and sitting down and having this conversation with Pelosi and Schumer, is really shining a very bright light onto the obstructionist of his own party. And it's also something else that's happening here. Another part of it that I think a lot of the mainstream pundits are missing is that, keep in mind, the Democrat establishment, a lot of Democratic voters, a lot of people who supported the Rotten Reverend, a lot of people who supported Commie Bernie, Crazy Bernie, a lot of progressives despise Trump. They think he's, Hitler or something like that. And so it's a really good move by Trump in a way, because remember how unpopular it's going to be for Schumer and Pelosi to sit down and negotiate with Trump on anything, they're going to take a lot of flack from their left wing for even sitting down and talking with him. But even they realize the same thing, that you cannot, have a situation where you have this kind of gridlock. At some point, you're going to have to quit playing this total obstructionist game, whether you're the president or whether you're the Congress or whatever. At some point, you actually do have to do something for the country, or make it at least look like you're doing something for the country, or the voters will flat out reject you. And remember, the primary interest of all these individuals is their own interest. And so, Pelosi and Chucky are going to have a lot of Democrats and progressives especially very angry with them for sitting down and negotiating with Trump as well. And you're also going to have Big Ears Ryan and Twitch McConnell facing a tremendous amount of heat and pressure from their voters back home who are not happy that they're being obstructionist. And what Trump is doing is putting both of them in a very difficult position, so it's a very good political strategy. And at the end of the day, he realizes he has to govern. He has to get something done. If he had all the Republicans on his side and he had 60 votes in the Senate, maybe he could maybe he could play from one side of the aisle. But the fact of the matter is, the simple politics of the matter is that you just simply can't do that. So everyone just needs to keep their cool, not get, into a tizzy over this thing. Just relax, keep calm, and watch this play itself out. This is an extraordinary situation that we have right now that I can't remember seeing. There was a time early on in the Carter administration where he dissed his own party in the Congress. They came to him with a bunch of agenda items, and he said, well, yeah, thanks a lot for stopping by, but I've got my own agenda, thank you very much, and I'll call you when I need your vote. And needless to say, Jimmy Carter ran into a lot of problems, opposition to his own party, because they felt dissed. And so it's not really the first time we've seen something. It's just this is at a much higher level of obstruction by both parties. And he's doing his very best to work his way through the situation. He has got to govern. Keep this in mind. And, he's been president for 8 months. So let's just everybody take a chill pill, and I think everything will be fine. Trump hasn't sold out or any of that kind of stuff. He's going to get his wall. Don't worry about that. The Dreamers will be fine. Just let's let it play out and everybody keep their cool. Okay, and the other issues obviously getting a lot of play is the Rotten Reverend. She's out there. And again, today she trashed, I forget who she trashed today. It's later on in my thing. But she was out there trashing someone else today. I mean, it's just, the woman is, as I mentioned, and I'm not just saying this, I mean, I really think this is true. I mean, I think that Hillary Clinton is dumber than a barrel of buttholes. And, she's got this thing where people say, oh, she's so smart and all this. I mean, she's really not. I've been watching her for a very long time. She's cunning. She's shrewd. She's a lot of things, but I don't think that she's, what I would consider, some incredibly bright, intelligent, seer or something like that. She's just not. She's probably average. And she just had a lot of privileges that most people do not have. But people talking about, why is Clinton doing this? Why is she attacking the Democrats? Why is she attacking her own party, attacking the Bernie supporters, attacking progressives? Why won't she go away? And so you're seeing even this type of conversation on the left-wing media, the liberal media, giving her a rough time. And again, as I've said before, and people will say I'm crazy, but I'm telling you that she has every intention of running for president in 2020. And this is for a couple reasons. Number one, she looks out at the political landscape in the Democratic Party, and she sees no national Democrat. No Democrat right now which has national name recognition and has the ability to corral the big donors. And there's no real other person, I guess, as far as you would say right now, that we don't really see that person anyway, unless it's someone that comes kind of out of left field. But if you look at the roster, the Democrats really, during Obama's 8 years, never really tried to get some fresh horses and get them ready to get in the game. They pretty much had banked everything on the Rotten Reverend, and when she tanked, They have no one in the bullpen. There's no one on the training team, on the farm team. There's nothing there being developed. Nobody on the developmental squad. No, nothing there. There's a huge void. And so I think Hillary sees this huge void, and I think she believes that her and along with her husband and their dirty tricks, anyone who does try to challenge them, such as Kamala Harris, you can see that Kamala Harris, as soon as her name popped up on the national stage, and they began talking about her as a possible Democrat candidate, you saw all kinds of dirt coming out about her. Well, that's the Clintons. That's what they do. As soon as they realize there might be someone who might challenge Hillary, they aren't going to wait around. They'll immediately have their investigators and their lawyers start digging up dirt. They'll immediately have their friends in the media start running negative stories. They'll immediately start attacking anyone who might challenge Hillary. This is how she takes out the competition before the match even starts. This is classic Clintons. She has set up a PAC. A PAC is a political action committee designed to raise money for candidates for elected office. She has multiple associations now with grassroots organizations, which primary objective is to raise money. Part of that is her greed, but the other part of that is she has every intention on running. Now, I will tell you this right now, that the decision maker for who is going to be the Democratic National or the nominee for the Democratic Party has nothing to do with the voters, nothing to do with the primaries or the caucuses, nothing to do with any of that. The two primary decision makers of who will be the nominee for the Democratic Party, and regardless of what you're talking about, will be two individuals. Their names are Lloyd Blankfein of J.P. Morgan and Jamie Dimon of Goldman Sachs. They will be the ones who will decide who is going to be the Democratic nominee. They made that decision back when Obama was running against Clinton. It was they who got together and made the phone call to Dianne Feinstein and said, okay, we need to have a private meeting. We'll do it here in Georgetown. It was supposed to be a big secret, but it leaked out to the press. And they set the two down, Obama and Hillary, set them down and said, okay, here's what they've decided. And Blankfein and Dimon were there, along with Feinstein and a couple other people, a couple other high-level donors. And they said, okay, we have directed the super delegates to go for Obama. We think he gives us the best chance, but here's what we're going to do. It's going to be a compromise. Obama, you're going to give Hillary her chance of cabinet level, her choice of cabinet level positions. She's going to be whatever she wants to be, Secretary of State, whatever. And then after your terms, 2 terms, then we'll go full bore behind Hillary and we'll back her next time. This is the deal that was cut in Georgetown in 2007. Jamie Dimon and Lloyd Blankfein will determine who the Democratic nominee will be, and they have a very close relationship with the Clintons. They know that Hillary Clinton will deliver on everything that they want. And there is no other national Democrats. If you think I'm crazy, maybe I am, but you just keep watching. Now, there are a couple things that could derail that. Number one, the Rotten Reverend could, and I believe has a very good chance of being charged with crimes, espionage crimes, mishandling classified information. She could also have a health issue, which could put her in some problems. Or Blankfein and Dimon could find someone else that they actually do like better than Hillary, and they might make the call that it's that person that they're going to go with. And keep in mind another thing: why is Hillary out there? Why is she out there doing all these things, blaming all these people, including her own party and people like that? Well, what is she really doing? She's out there basically identifying herself as the victim. She wants everyone to believe that she was victimized, that she's a victim. And what is this all about? Well, this is because that she knows that she has a very good chance of being charged with crimes under the Espionage Act. And, of course, she is going to lawyer up and fight it all the way to the bloody end. She's never going to compromise. She's never going to cut a deal. She's never going to agree to a plea bargain. She's never going to admit guilt in any way, shape, or form. The Clintons have never lost a legal battle, and as far as they're concerned, they never will. They'll battle this thing until her dying day. It may run into the 2020 election. They can drag this thing out for years. That's assuming that our Attorney General has the stones to prosecute, and I'm not so sure he does. No question that whether she broke the law and that there are crimes there. But what Hillary is planning on is that if she gets charged, you can expect that she is immediately, now that she's painted herself as a victim, she's simply going to say, well, see, this is just another example how I am being a victim again. They're still going after me. Even after the election, they're still going after me. See, I'm such a victim. And then she's also going to call for all those grassroots supporters. She's going to call for all those grassroots supporters to act up on her behalf. She's going to be hoping for blood in the streets. She wants to see millions of people out on the streets protesting and rioting over the fact that she's been charged with crimes. Do you think the Clintons won't go that low? Do you think that the rotten reverend will not go that dirty? Think again, my friends. I know these people quite well. Watch very closely. Now, unbelievable breaking news from the investigative bureau of the Tru Pundit. This story has been developing since March of this past year. They've been working on this story. Are you ready for this? Hold on to your ass cheeks, folks. Here you go. The FBI paid $100,000 plus for the concocted Trump dossier during the election, and Senator McGoo helped broker the classified deal with Comey. FBI insiders say fired FBI Director James Comey and Andrew McCabe, Deputy FBI Director, used Bureau funds to underwrite the controversial dossier on President Trump during the 2016 presidential election, FBI sources confirm. And the deal to dig up dirt on Trump was put together with the help of Senator McGoo. Just as I've been saying, isn't it? You've been watching my TowerGate videos for a while. What have I been telling you? And they haven't got to the very bottom of it yet, because I'm telling you, at the very bottom of this pile, you will find the rotten reverend and her inside man, John Brennan. Continuing, the Tru Pundit first received this intelligence from FBI sources in March of this past year, that the Bureau had struck a financial deal with Steele in 2016. Federal law enforcement agents have since divulged these details to Tru Pundit's investigative bureau. GPS fusion may also have been paid by the FBI. Now, I think the FBI Fusion Association is probably more likely the association with the CIA. And this was a joint covert operation. This is what I believe. But it appears now that the FBI had a definite role in digging dirt on a presidential candidate to sway the election. So the rotten reverend is correct. They did attempt to rig the election, but not against her, for her, and against President Trump. And who was behind it? Her good friend, the dishonorable James Comey, and his butt buddy, his deputy, Andrew McCabe, who's already under 3, now 4 criminal investigations, make it 5, along with her good friend, John Brennan. Now, we know why the FBI and the DOJ are blocking Congress from interviewing Comey's right-hand man, his 2 right-hand men, his chief of staff and the other guy, and some woman lawyer as well, who also is closely associated with this group, I guess you would call them. Man, oh man. Well, this is exactly what I've been saying. If you watch my TowerGate videos, I've been saying that we will not get the truth to the bottom of any of this from congressional hearings or investigations by, the Attorney General or whatever. This is not going to happen. It's the deep state, my friends. It's the swamp. And they take care of the number one most important thing to them is the government itself, the state itself, the deep state. That is their God. They worship at its altar. They are not going to bring down their God. I told you that it was most likely if we would get to the bottom of this, it will be because, number one, there would either be, like in Watergate, a whistleblower, someone like a Deep Throat, or maybe some really good journalist will find some really good sources and will bust the story wide open, or there will be a civil suit where the criminals are not running the show, where you actually have a judge and a jury, a real prosecutor, or a real attorney representing the plaintiff, and who would have a interest in getting the truth. One of these three things will be the way that it happens. So it appears now that the Tru Pundit's investigative division has been speaking on the inside with some FBI officials who've been watching this whole thing play out, and they've been keeping silent. Not so much they've been keeping silent, they haven't been going out and going public yet as whistleblowers, because obviously they value their lives and their careers. But they have been feeding information and talking to certainly various media organizations, the Tru Pundit being one of them, but they've obviously had enough. They want the truth exposed about what has been going on. It appears that certain people within the FBI know the truth, that Comey and the FBI, along with Andrew McCabe, paid for the dossier, just as I suspected, and that John McCain brokered the deal. Senator McGoo. Well, Attorney General Sessions, there you go. You know probably every bit of this. Now, Attorney General Sessions, he says that there's lots of crime out there. He's looking for lots of crime. There's crime here, there's crime everywhere. He's investigating lots of crimes. He's looking for all those crimes. He's going to crack down on all those crimes. Well, there you go. The eager beaver, the overachieving Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, looking for that crime. It's right in front of your face. It's all over you. It's all around you. It's like a fucking aura. Mr. Sessions, there you go. It's time to come clean, Attorney General Sessions, and do your job. You should immediately dispatch federal law enforcement officials to the home of the dishonorable James Comey and Mr. McCabe. You should slap the cuffs on their asses, and they should be in jail by tonight. We'll keep watching this story. H.R. McMaster's memo on stopping the leaks gets leaked to BuzzFeed. Dana Rohrabacher says that the Charlottesville protest was a setup by left-wing activists and agitators. Well, Dana Rohrabacher is about 50% right. Yes, it was agitators and that type of thing, but it was by the several of the professionals, one named Mr. Kessler, and we learned about another one the other day. I forget his name. He was an idiot too. We know about these two guys probably being paid by the FBI or the CIA. We also know that it's very, very likely that the governor, Terry McAuliffe, the bagman, former bagman for the Clintons, who also has presidential aspirations, the mayor and the police chief were likely involved, and my guess is they are not the top of the food chain. And you can bet that if the bagman had a role in this, you can bet that behind it is the rotten reverend and her pervert husband, Slick Willie. You can bet your ass on that. Absolutely. The rotten reverend today attacked middle America. Calls for the elimination of the Electoral College. That may be one of the stupidest things. Again, as I said, the woman is literally dumber than a barrel of buttholes. First of all, without going into a major history lesson because I'm running out of time, when our Constitution was first put together and all the delegates came to meet in Philadelphia for the convention to strengthen the Articles of Confession, or the Articles of Confederation, which were the kind of governing document at that time when we were still 13 separate colonies, and they all got together and decided the problems were so serious they needed something else. They needed a constitution. Well, the delegates and a lot of the smaller states looked at that situation and said, yeah, right. You want us to be a part of a plan where the big industrial centers, the centers where all the banking and all the money and all the industry and all the manufacturing, with all these high population centers in cities like Philadelphia and New York and Boston, you want us to compete with them for representation. Small states like South Carolina, Georgia, Maine, Vermont, these small states looked at them and said, ain't no way we're going to let you folks decide the laws for all of us, because that's exactly what it would be. That's why they came up with the Electoral College. It does a very good job of making sure that all areas of the country are represented. If you got rid of the Electoral College, Reverend, do you know what would happen, Reverend? If you got rid of the Electoral College, the city of New York, Los Angeles, would largely determine the laws for the rest of the country. And within a very short period of time, the rest of the country would rebel. Would be a breakup of the Union, a breakup of the United States. It would fracture. It would be civil war. The rotten reverend should certainly know this. It doesn't take a genius to figure this one out. This woman is, as I said, dumber than a barrel of buttholes. Stinky buttholes. Trump will veto the crackpot Bernie single-payer healthcare plan if it ever makes it to his desk. And by the way, a video has surfaced of the commie Bernie from 1974 stating on camera that the Medicare for everybody would bankrupt the nation. You can see that video. It's all over the internet. MSNBC host says Antifa are good people and are on the side of angels. No, actually, they've been labeled as a domestic terrorist group, and they're a bunch of thugs who need a beatdown just like you, MSNBC host. And, of course, this follows, this is just a day after that the CNN's host, Chef, says he would poison Trump's food. We have the Pitbull, Trey Gowdy, calling out Comey for violating federal law. You think? Funding the dossier using hidden money, along with his partner, Mr. McCabe, for the purpose of getting dirt on the president to sway the election, is a level of obstruction from the head of the FBI that we've never seen. Even in Hoover's worst days, we could never imagine such a thing. It's a lot more than violating federal laws, Mr. Pitbull. Jeff the Flake, disapproval rating now at 59%. That's 59% people disapprove. He continues to go down the tubes. He's probably, I would say, definitely going to lose to the Republican challenger, but she's kind of weak, as I've said before. And she'll probably lose to the Democrat. We'll probably lose, I don't know if it's a big loss. I mean, you lose Flake and you get a Democratic senator. I mean, Flake is as bad as a Democratic senator. He's a Republican in name only. A rhino, a neocon, and a Trump hater. We just want to kick his ass. Even if it results in getting a Democrat. Doesn't matter. He doesn't vote for anything that's of a conservative nature. Anyhow, no big loss. Screw him. And finally, all over today, of course, we're all looking forward to hearing what happened at the arraignment today. It was supposed to be the arraignment of the Awans, but it appears that they've moved the date now back 30 days to October 14th, because I imagine they're still trying to get the details ironed out of the immunity. I believe that Mrs. Awan, I don't even know if she's arrived back in the country. I assume she has. But obviously they got to get all their T's crossed and their I's dotted. But we already know from the legal filings that they're going to offer complete immunity and that type of thing. So no big deal there. It doesn't surprise me that they moved the date back 30 days. Mrs. Awan has got to get over here. She may be here now. If she is, she's probably under police protection or what have you. So not a whole lot going on. It's kind of quiet about that. All we know is that the date has now been pushed to October 30th. So we'll watch for that. So that is TowerGate, day 193, September 15th, 2017, Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys enjoy your evening, and I'll be back for Saturday evening's video. Thanks for tuning in. You guys be good. Take care. Bye.